Sinners is the newest film directed by Ryan Coogler and stars Michael B. Jordan in a dual role as identical twin brothers Smoke and Stack. They both have a troubled past through a life of crime, but accrued a considerable amount of wealth during their past, and they decide to return to their homeland in the Deep South in order to start up a nightclub of their very own. Unfortunately, the way to ruin their opening night comes in the form of blood-sucking vampires lurking in the night who decide their new target will be this brand new joint. Sinners has only been out for a few days, but everybody is talking about it, which is very exciting, considering that this is an original film created by one of the most prolific African-American filmmakers working today. And while I already knew this was branded a horror film because it was featuring vampires, it seemed from the trailers that there was going to be a lot happening, and there was still a great level of ambiguity towards the characters present and just trying to see how everything was going to connect. I think what's really important is that this is a movie where I wasn't really sure what my expectations were going to be. And that, I think, is exactly the way it should be. You should be surprised going into a movie. You shouldn't know all the details. And it's led me to coin a term which I want to call deceptively simple. And that might be the title of the video because I feel like the film Sinners, from a narrative perspective, has a lot of elements that are told and or said in a very simplistic way, but they mean so much more than what's on the surface. And I think the best way to start is by talking about the title of the film. Now, in general, a title for any film or form of media is, in my opinion, essential. It can tell you the antagonist of the piece, like the Terminator, the main characters such as Harry Potter, a figurative representation of something like The Place Beyond the Pines, or a morality choice like Do the Right Thing. Or they can have a dual meaning like Road to Perdition. Sinners is one of those titles that perfectly explains both the film and the characters that represent the film. World building is extremely important for any movie, but something that's even more difficult to task is when you're creating a period piece. Because the characters, the way they interact with people, the way they're dressed, the way they speak, it's all from a very, very different perspective because it is a different age. And Ryan Coogler's world building in this movie is so meticulously well crafted that you're not questioning anything because you can understand the characters' motivations, where they've been, where they plan to go, their dreams, their fears, and most of all, their trauma. What I think is equally as important is deciphering Michael B. Jordan's dual roles and the fact that they both came from a life of crime up in Chicago. That was a part of their past, a big part. And it serves as very important to the story and the title of the film because these two men did not do everything in a perfectly altruistic way to make their money. But what gets deeper are all of the characters that surround these two brothers, especially with Hailee Steinfeld, who is fantastic in the film. I've always liked her very much as an actress. I think she's also very stunning. And on top of that, she has a lot of mixed ancestry. And that particular line of dialogue is so perfectly said in the movie. I think it's something that everybody that sees it will remember, but it is absolutely true about the actress in real life. So incorporating those real life elements into the story, it just makes her character 10 times better. At the same time, you have backup singer for her, Miles Caton, and this is his feature film debut, and what a debut, because I was shocked to learn that after the movie. He's only 20 years old, and he learned to play the guitar just for this movie. Wunmi Mosaku, fresh off the second highest grossing film of the previous year, plays Annie, who has quite a lustful scene with her estranged partner. I mean, you could practically feel their sexual tension in the air. And then we have Delroy Lindo, a true living legend. He is one of my favorite actors of all time. And even Delroy Lindo has a multicultural background. You can feel his pain, the trauma in his character, why he is the way he is. And then you have Jack O'Connell, who is, man, what a performance he gives in this movie. Also, O'Connell is Irish, and both the Irish ancestry and bigotry of the Irish people is present in the film. So in a way, his character does represent a different minority. He's relentless, he's scary, but he cannot enter the establishment unless he is invited in. And that plays a perfect part in why I call this movie deceptively simple, because he's not saying a lot of words, but those words mean everything. You also have the film set in Mississippi, the Deep South, in which you have two African American characters who are wealthy returning to that land to set up established land. That is going to cause controversy no matter what way you look at it. Ryan Coogler knows exactly what he's doing by creating a time capsule, a specific moment in history of which alcohol was illegal, segregation was fully enforced, Al Capone had just been convicted, films were just beginning to incorporate sound, and you were sadly starting to see wealth dissipate due to the Great Depression. So the element of not only vampires, but turning brother against brother, friend against friend, enticing those to lose themselves in their lurid sexual desires, and creating a sense of almost communistic unity, which is something where you can understand why people would want to join something like that, but you can also understand why people would always defy those actions. Sinners could have easily become a bloated, messy film had it not been for one thing that holds everything together: the music. The music in Sinners plays a massive part of not just the film, not just the themes, but how the characters react to the type or style of music that's being played. How it can be used to serenade or seduce people to do their bidding. How it can cause people to dance in a ruckus manner or to slow dance. Anything that can be from the extreme to the calm, to the alternative. And without giving anything away, there is a sequence which I'll just call the sequence that, man, I cannot wait to rewatch and examine how it was achieved in camera, because it is spellbinding. The action scenes in the movie are directed with such brilliant vibrancy and pacing, it harkens back to when Coogler made the original Creed. While I definitely had a great time watching Sinners, there were some cliches that were a bit bothersome for me, particularly if you've seen the movie From Dusk Till Dawn, which I have reviewed before on the channel. There are a lot of similarities to the movie in which I knew where certain moments were going to go because they were pretty much lifted from that film. And admittedly, Ryan Coogler did state that his biggest influence making this movie was From Dusk Till Dawn, and it was a little too apparent for my taste. I'm also not a big fan of movies that either open up or have a significant number of flashbacks. I think it's just more of a pet peeve, like it's just a me thing, but I prefer it where I don't really know where something is gonna go. I'm just not a big fan of movies that do flashbacks or movies that have to call back dialogue as if the audience didn't already hear it. Despite the cliches I've talked about, this is an original film at a time where we're practically screaming out loud at the top of our lungs to have more original films that are not mega budgeted blockbusters. Sinners was made on a $90 million budget, and it's already grossed $60 million with its opening weekend. The movie is and will find success no matter what Variety tells us. You can just feel the film was made by someone who not only had a passion, but a true knowledge and connection of both the era and the music created during that era. Ryan Coogler admitted he was inspired by his uncle who grew up during the Jim Crow era Mississippi, which is where he fell in love with the blues. Coogler also admitted to listening to Metallica when creating the musical sequences in order to provide contrast. And he made a brilliant 10-minute crash course to explain the film's distinct aspect ratio, which is also known as
Ultra Panavision. When you absolutely positively got to wow everyone in the room, except no substitutes.
Oh, and Ruth Carter, the costume designer behind Do the Right Thing, a movie I have talked about on the channel, as well as both Black Panther films, provided the beautiful costumes seen in the film. In addition, stay through the credits. Don't get up and leave. Don't be like 90% of the people in my auditorium. Stay until the end of the credits. I can't explain why, just stay. So I hope that you guys do go see this movie, and I was excited to finally start reviewing things again with this movie because it definitely touched me, and the longer I thought about it, the more I enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to see it again. So please guys, if you have seen the movie, let me know down in the comments your thoughts. In the meantime, do not forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like. The links to my social media pages are in the description box below, as well as a link to my website, kjgpictures.com. Also, the link is in the description. Thank you very much as always for watching, and as always, stay tuned for more videos.